Hello everyone. So the next topic which we will be discussing is about the regulation of the respiration. So respiration is all about the exchange of gases. For example, there is an there is an inhalation of the oxygen gas and exhalation of the carbon dioxide. So in this process of respiration, there are several respiratory organs that are also involved. For example, there are there is a nose, then windpipe, then lungs, alveoli, then diaphragm. So all these are the parts of the respiratory system. Now, how this system of respiration is being regulated. So let's start. That breathing occurs in a continuous cyclic patterns to sustain the life processes. So breathing is one of the most important part of our life and it occurs in continuous manner. So humans, they have the ability to regulate the breathing rhythm to suit the demand of the body. So this is regulated by the respiratory center which is present in the brain. So that is being regulated as in the part of a brain. So when we rhythmically breathe in and out during quiet breathing because of alternate contraction and relaxation of the inspiratory muscles, namely the diaphragm and external intercostal muscles. So there is a contraction and relaxation of these muscles which in turn is commanded by the medullary rhythmic center that sends impulses to the motor neurons supplying these muscles. So that is the main function here. Now the medullary rhythmic center consists of two neural clusters that is known as the dorsal respiratory group and the ventral respiratory group. Now what about the dorsal respiratory group? It consists of the inspiratory neurons. So when the inspiratory neurons of the dorsal respiratory group fire, inspiration takes place, and when they cease firing, expiration occurs. So there is a nerve impulse which is being generated in the inspiratory neurons and they establish the basic rhythm of the breathing. So during the quiet breathing, inspiration lasts for about 2 seconds and expiration lasts for about 3 seconds. So at the end of the 2 seconds, the inspiratory neurons become inactive and the nerve impulses cease. So this is the dorsal respiratory group. Now if we talk about the ventral respiratory group, it is composed of both the inspiratory as well as the expiratory neurons. So both these neurons remain inactive during the normal quiet breathing. However, during the forceful breathing, these nerve impulses from the inspiratory neurons, they activate the expiratory neurons. So impulses from the expiratory neurons, they cause contraction of the internal intercostal and abdominal muscles, which decreases the size of the thoracic cavity and causes the forceful expiration. So this is what is about the ventral respiratory group. Now we will talk about the chemoreceptors. So the respiratory center, they know how to control the rate and the depth of the breathing, but its activity, it is influenced by input of the chemoreceptors which are sensitive to the changes in the pH, partial pressure of CO2 and the partial pressure of oxygen. So now these chemoreceptors have further been divided into two parts or two groups that respond to changes. There is a central chemoreceptor and the peripheral chemoreceptors. So we will be talking about these in detail. So first we will talk about is the central chemoreceptor. Now this is located near the medulla in the central nervous system. They are very sensitive to the changes in the pH of the cerebrospinal fluid and intestinal fluid. So when there is an increase in the arterial partial pressure of oxygen, it will cause a similar rise in the partial pressure of extracellular fluid of the brain as the CO2 diffuses its gradient from the blood vessel into the extracellular fluid of the brain. So this is how a central chemoreceptor functions. As there is an increase in the partial pressure of carbon dioxide, it causes a fall in the pH. So the partial pressure as the partial pressure of CO2 increases, it will lead to the fall in the pH. So the fall in the pH, why this fall in the pH occurs? It occurs because there is a carbon dioxide which can combine with water and they can form the carbonic acid. So low pH, it stimulates the central chemoreceptors to increase the breathing. So the central chemoreceptors do not monitor CO2 itself. So they do not monitor the CO2 itself. However, they are some they are sensitive to changes in the carbon dioxide induced hydrogen ion concentration in the brain extracellular fluid that bathes them. So oxygen does not have a significant direct effect on the respiratory center of the brain in controlling the respiration. Instead, it acts almost entirely on the peripheral chemoreceptors. Now, if I talk about the peripheral chemoreceptors, they include the aortic bodies, which is located around the aortic arch, and the carotid bodies, which is located on the one common artery. So they are in the carotid bodies. So they are present in the carotid bodies, and few of them are present in the aortic bodies. So these receptors are especially important for detecting the changes in the oxygen in the blood, although they also respond to the lesser extent to changes in the carbon dioxide and the hydrogen ions. So when the oxygen concentration in the arterial blood falls below, the chemoreceptors become strongly stimulated. So this is how the respiration of respiration is being regulated. So it has been regulated by the brain, which is the which is it has been regulated by the brain, which is a respiratory center which is present in the brain. So this was all about it, and these are some of the references. Thank you.